want to just say hello and thank you for coming. For those people that are just starting to tune in, Judith and Kelly. And we are looking today at really nourishing the body. So what is nourishment? How do we take it in? How might it actually we be resisting it at times, perhaps? And also just cues around nourishment and deciphering what kind of cues mean something and what kind of cues might be false alarms. So um, we'll have some time to actually speak with our presenter, Jessi McLennan, who's here. I'm so glad you're here, Jessi. Thank you.
I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah, and Jessi and I actually worked together at the Chopra Addiction and Wellness Center many moons ago, and I always saw how much people took from the group facilitated sessions that you did there, and I could see the impact that it had on them. And I really thought that that was a really important thing to bring forward, is to have the take of when we get into our eating and nourishing ourselves, which is of course the first form of nurture when we come out, when we're born. It's just like, okay, where's the food?
It's so true.
It definitely is important to keep that in mind, and when we're looking at nurturing ourselves. And with a lot of the messages around food and dieting and the way that we eat, there's so many messages out there that can make us feel bad or guilty, or lots of different things that come into play in a negative way when we're looking at eating our food. So we want to have a nice resounding voice of support for people to have a really enjoyable time and take in the nurture that's available when we're eating food versus maybe all of the other messaging that might be going on in self-talk and otherwise. So I just did want to start off a little here, that we could have a moment where we can maybe take a deep breath, have that moment of settling in, and I'll guide you through a very short body-mind exercise around this topic. And good to see you, Christina. Thanks for coming, and Tom. So taking that breath and just really relaxing down for a moment into wherever your body happens to be touching support beneath you. Taking another breath when you're ready, just letting everything settle in. We're here together. There's facilitators here to support and hold the space for us. And now I'll ask you to just remember the last time that someone or something came in front of you. Someone brought you food and something was put in front of you that you just don't like to eat. It's disgusting. Now think about that food. You picture it, smell it, see what it looks like in your mind's eye. Just have that full experience. It's the worst food you've ever had. And just notice what's happening with your face. And just notice what happens with your nose. What happens inside of you when something is not appealing. So just that awareness of, what does the body do when it's saying no? For me, I feel a little contraction. I definitely feel a nose wrinkle going on. My lip is rising a little. So now just, let's etch a sketch that out of our awareness and out of our mind. And we'll come back and let's put something else in front of us that's a little bit different. Let's put something in front of us that is the most delicious thing that we can possibly imagine. The smell of it, the look. There might be something oozing, like whipped cream, who knows? We don't know, but take it in and notice in this moment what happens. Okay, I just swallowed. You might notice a few things. Maybe go towards even picking it up with your hands and what happens. What happens when you put it on your fork? And very gently, just again, erasing that little sketch out of that experience, even though it's so delicious. But let's just put a hand right to the belly and have an a nice So just taking that time to vocalize what it might be to have that and eat it now. And the reason why the sound is so important actually to come into that sound is because it activates your digestive system. Not only does it activate your digestive system, but you also have a wonderful experience in your pleasure centers of the body. It also really triggers that as well. So we're getting some serotonin when that happens. So all of these physiological things going on that typically we don't consciously pay too much attention to until we're absolutely starved and our, belly is really crying out for more. So I just wanted to now move into more welcoming people to the call in a way that you can actually tell us a little bit about yourself. So I'll have maybe Claire, if you don't mind unmuting people, we'll just do one person at a time. Maybe you start with Kirsty and see just where you're calling in from, and if there's one thing you think it's important for the group to know about you, if you could share that.
Well, I'm Kirsty, and I'm calling in from Edmonton, Alberta, in Canada. And one thing, I love that by the way. And yeah, that I didn't know that, but I could really see how that would really help activate my digestive system even more. And one thing I'd like people to know about me is that I'm always in the process. That I'm on this journey of always being in the process and learning and growing and expanding and ascending and I enjoy that. I get a lot of joy out of that.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Yeah, I could feel your heart there. Your heart and your words. And let me move over and just ask Roger, do you feel like sharing the same things?
Sure. My name is Roger, and I'm in Powell River up on the Sunshine Coast in British Columbia. And I spent my career in engineering, and I retired 4 years ago. And I'm new to the realm of the healing arts, and I'm loving it.
Love it. Thanks, Roger. Roger's part of our Wlecome community. So yeah, he's a facilitator now, and that's exciting to me. Want to know about your next workshop. And Claire, do you feel like sharing?
Hello, I'm Claire from Wellington, New Zealand, and it is a very sunny day today, so I'm totally bright, as you can see. But we're having a heat wave, and so it's hot as well. Yeah, and one thing about me is I don't cope well with the heat. I have epilepsy, and there's a certain level my body can tolerate heat-wise, and then the rest I'm just like, nah. So I will be seeking the sea after our chat today, and it will be as glorious as it was yesterday.
Awesome, beautiful. Thank you. And how about Judith? Are you willing and able to share a little something about yourself as well? Yeah. Thanks, Claire, for unmuting.
Hi, I'm Judith. I live just north of San Francisco in California, the States. I'm a retired early childhood educator, and stress has been my middle name most of my life, but I'm learning slowly but surely how to de-stress and nurture myself, and I appreciate being on this calls. Thank you.
I'm so glad you're here. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I'll see if Celeste is willing to share something.
Sure. So I'm Celeste, and I've been friends and cohorts with Shealagh for probably, well, over 20 years now, and I work at the Chopra Addiction and Wellness Center. I've been a yoga meditation teacher for almost 20 years, and practice really mind, body, spirit, integrating this work at my job in a daily way, but also my whole life is transformed because of incorporating this and having a bubble of friends that all live and walk the talk of wellness. And every day is an adventure. It's very exciting to be in the wonderment of who we are as humans, who we are as connection, and pretty excited to be a part of this. I'm impressed, Shealagh. A little confused with how I can see everybody all at once, but it's awesome. Hello to everybody.
Do you have it on speaker view, or do you have it on gallery view? You can see everything.
Well, it's because I have it on my phone, so I think for tomorrow I'll try to figure it out on my computer. So I have to keep flipping back between different pages for everybody. It's okay though.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for that. And Judith, there's another Judith. My mom's name was Judith. So there's two Judiths on the call that I'd love to hear from, the Judith number 2, if that's possible.
I am unable to unmute Judith too.
So maybe she's got herself muted in a way that you can't do. Okay, that's okay. That's all right. She can just be there and feel her presence. Thank you for being here. And Christina, how about you?
Oh, hi. Yeah, I'm in Squamish, and fairly new to Squamish. I had a retreat center in Shealagh called Inner Sanctuary for many years. So it was all about awakening consciousness, everything from astrology to tantra. So my path is all about awakening, and I just keep expanding and growing, and I really value community and gathering in person. To me, this is as close to being in person, so I really wanted to be part of this. And I also wanted to say that when we did that, the first sound we make, even as children, is from that sound is mama. It's an om, of course. It's the primordial sound, and that's why it releases those serotonin in that we almost need to be doing that daily, even if it's not food, because it actually really activates everything. It's sound transformation is extremely powerful, because everything in the universe is sound and vibration and energy. So it's a really powerful sound to make, and it just the gratitude and appreciating our food, our body and our cells resonate and get that as well.
Yeah, love it. Love it. Yeah, I love what you're saying. Thank you so much.
Okay, welcome.
And Tom, are you interested in telling us a little something?
Yeah, sure. I'm Tom. I'm in Missouri in the U.S., where it is extremely cold. And I'm kind of the odd man out, because I seem to embody it all from a rather different path than most people. I'm a martial artist. So.
Yeah. So what kind of martial arts is it?
Aikido and Iaido.
Great. I have such an interest in that. Ever since I, connected with Mark, and of course Mark Walsh had put on the Embodiment Conference, and Tom was a host there, and for many of the sort of late night ones for the UK, because us here in North America had the right time zone for the late night facilitators. And Mark Walsh is also part of this retreat. He's doing some of the bonus integration sessions. So we'll look forward to hearing him on day 8. And I'll move over to Kelly, and I'll ask to see if Kelly wants to share something.
Can you guys hear me? Okay. I'm Kelly. I am coming from Langley, BC, so not too far. And probably one of the biggest things that kind of drew me to this, but also is a lot about me and who I am, is I'm very passionate and I'm very eager. I always want to keep learning. I always want to do more, try more. And sometimes that can lead me to getting very stressed and not finding that time for myself. So really trying to find that balance, because I talk about it with clients, but needing to find that balance for myself.
Awesome. Very good point. Thank you for bringing that around to to circling to that, because it's a really important place to move into our speaker, Jessi McLennan. She is, as I was saying, she's a holistic nutritionist, both at the Chopra Center, but also I think you have a really great online course as well that is available through, maybe is it Eco Gym? Am I remembering correctly? I just need to unmute Jessi. Sorry, Jessi, you're not muted.
There we go.
There we go.
Yeah, it is a little separate from Eco Gym. I do offer it through Eco Gym. So just for those of you listening, I like Shealagh said, I work at the Chopra Addictions and Wellness Center, but I also have a private consulting practice. And I actually work, one of my main contracts is with a franchise of gyms in Chicago called Eco Gym. So I've created an online program that I run through my private practice, but I also provide for the members of Eco Gym, called the Balanced Life Program, which is integrating many of the things that we've all just mentioned, to do with nutrition and mind-body connection, and just how to integrate it into your life in a way that makes sense. In the real life scenario where maybe Kelly, you were kind of touching on this a bit, it can be busy and it can be hard to find time to do the things you need to do for yourself to nourish yourself. So that's kind of in a nutshell what the online program is about.
Great. Yeah, I was looking at it when you were sending me the link earlier, and I was wanting to come back to it again because I had done some of it, started off, and then got into the retreat planning piece. So, yeah. So really great to see Doreen has joined us as well. Thanks for being here. And so I guess really the first question I wanted to ask you, Jessi, is, was there a time, is there times when self-care and self-nurture, you really have wanted to put that first? And, can you tell me a little bit about how that went for you? Because I know how it goes for me sometimes. So.
Yeah, I actually remember when you asked me to join you in this online retreat, and I thought, I don't think I'm the right person, because I'm somewhat bad at putting myself at the bottom of the list. And I knew you were going to ask me that question. I thought, oh God, I don't think I do anything for self-care at the moment. And then I thought about it and I was like, actually, I really do, because when it comes to self-care, meal planning for me and preparing home-cooked meals, that is one thing that I do on a daily basis, and I won't not do that. Self-care for me at the moment, I enjoy spending a bit of time in the kitchen to prepare meals, to get myself set up for the week. And I tend to do meal prep on a weekend to give myself that extra time during the week. So when it was, I really appreciated you asking me that question, because sometimes I think we can be a bit hard on ourselves, and maybe we think we're not doing enough. We should be doing more. We should be fitting in an extra half an hour of yoga in the morning, or meditating at night, or, we always think we should do more. And it actually just made me reflect and think, you know what, I do actually do quite a bit of self-care, because putting the time into that helps to set me up for a little more, I guess, self-care during the week, when I have my meals prepped and I don't have to be rushing around in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm really curious about that because I wanted to know what does that create for you, like when you do that? Because to me, it's genius because I never do it. But when I do once in a while, I'll do a big stew or something, and it really lasts for a long time, and I'm always grateful to my past self. When I pull that stew out of the freezer or whatever. And so, yeah, can you tell me a bit about that? What has it helped, or how was it paid off?
Yeah, so I think where it really became important for me, I now have 2 children. So I have an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old, and I run my own business, and I do all those things that come with both of those very important jobs. Mm-hmm. And I was getting to the point a couple of years back where night times I would just feel myself getting more and more wound up. Like between those hours of 4 o'clock and 7 o'clock, I was just this little bundle of stress. There was so many things that needed to get done. I was still thinking about the things I needed to do for my business, and my children were annoying me during that time because they needed me, and I said, something's got to change here. This isn't a good place to be in. Mm. And what I needed more time, and I needed more quality time in that time period. And so why I spend so much effort and put so much energy into meal prep on a weekend is to give me that time during the week so that I can finish my work at 5 o'clock. Things are ready. I can have that quality time with my kids. And it just has made me feel, not all the time, but a lot of the time, it just takes that stress away, and it helps me to be more present in the moment rather than wishing I was doing something else or anxious that I hadn't got something done during the day.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think that's what I'm hearing underneath that, just is the value that you have of quality time with your family, and that can be, when you put that first because it feels good for you. You're not like, the ball of nerves and okay, like one more question and my head's gonna pop off, right? Sometimes how it can be with family or kids or pressures. That you've put that value first because it feels really good for you. So I think it's a huge part of self-care. It's not just, yes, the yoga is amazing, and it's been a path of great healing for me, and meditation, and then, martial arts, let's say, for Tom, and all different practices like these. But meal prep, in this framework is actually an amazing self-care tool.
Yeah, for me, it really has been. And I did want to tell you, Shealagh, because since our last conversation, one other thing that I've integrated into my day as far as self-care goes, when I did reflect and saw how little, or just what I wasn't doing for self-care, at least once a day, I make myself a cup of tea. Mm-hmm. And from the time it takes to boil the kettle to making my tea, it's around 7 minutes. So I now use a fantastic yoga app, and I do 7 minutes of yoga.
No kidding.
Every day while I'm making my tea, because I figured if I can't find 7 minutes, then again, I need to focus on finding a little more balance. So from our last conversation, I've now been doing 7 minutes of yoga.
I'm so happy. Too much. And are you noticing that? And what is the outcome? What's happening? What's different?
Oh, it's I'm just so much more productive. I'm so much clearer when I come back to my desk. Mm-hmm. And if we're just being really honest, in the past I would have just sat and probably been on social media, scrolled through this, scrolled through that while I was waiting for my tea. Mm-hmm. Now I don't even pick up my phone, and I just go back to work so much more focused, not thinking about what everybody else is doing, not thinking about where other people's businesses are. I just focus on where I'm at and what I'm doing, and that's in 7 minutes. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, well, I know that Celeste and I can probably relate to that because we've done the 10-minute trainer with Tony Robbins or whatever in the past. So I don't think it's Tony Robbins. It's some other guy, but he's great. Tony, great. So yeah, I love what you're saying, because we pre-recorded some sessions together in case we wouldn't be able to connect this evening. And so even just putting the question to yourself, what are the areas where I feel like, yeah, this is really nurturing for me? And putting that question to yourself, you'll actually probably find that there are things that you're doing that you might not consider nurturing. And so that you can put that as a foundation and say, you know, yeah, these are the things I'm already doing. I brush my hair. I take a little extra time. You know, these are really nurturing things to be doing for ourselves, and then build from those very basic foundations. It's not self-care, not as a way of putting another thing on your to-do list, but as a way of being with yourself, you know, in kindness.
And I really love that you just put it in the terms of building a strong foundation, because that's also how I approach nutrition. And when I'm working with somebody, I talk a lot about building a strong foundation. And what does that mean to you? And what can we add in? What's the one small thing you can add in to just start building that strong foundation, so that when that's there, everything else just becomes easier. And I really feel that's what you're doing with this retreat as well. It's just helping us all to build that strong foundation.
Great. Well, thank you. Yeah, that's the intent. Certainly, you know, not to add to people's things to do, but to add to your sense that that you're cared for, and that there's a place where you can feel that, whether it's from yourself or from others. So, well, maybe, I don't know, I'm thinking maybe we could take a moment at this point. Does it feel like a good juncture to kind of invite people to maybe grab a plate, possibly a bowl, a fork, and a small snack?
Sure. And if you can think of something in your home that's just that you would maybe typically eat with your hands, like maybe it's raisins or a banana or a piece of bread. Well, you wouldn't really eat a piece of bread with your hands. Oh, you would if it's toast. If you can grab something like that you would typically eat with your hands, but we're going to do a little bit of an exercise where we're just going to use a knife and a fork. So it could also be an apple. It could be a piece of chocolate. If you've got a delicious piece of chocolate, grab some chocolate. So if you need to go do that, that would be a good thing to grab. And if you can't grab that, just going to use your imagination.
Yeah, so I invite you to just take that moment. Again, grab the plate too, because I want to kind of have people visualize that plate thing. That would be great. And a fork and a knife, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Shealagh, as we're just waiting for a couple of people to come back, everyone's gone off to get their goodies. I was just going to, I thought this would be a good place to talk about the mindfulness, and is that how you'd like to connect that in, and what it means to be mindful and nourishing and really experiencing what that feels like?
Yeah. I think that would be a great place to begin.
I think we actually came into this conversation last time. We were talking about pizza. I think that's how it came up last time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, one of my favorites.
Woohoo.
Thin crust.
Thin crust. It has to be thin crust.
Yeah. If I go more into this, I'm gonna just start drilling, so I better stop there.
I think the best pizza I ever had was actually in Indonesia. Surprisingly, made by a beautiful Balinese man, and it was simply because the crust was so thin, and it was cooked in a wood burning pizza oven, and it just had tomato and mozzarella and basil, and that was it. And I can still like that. Can picture how amazing that pizza tasted.
Absolutely.
That was 15 years ago.
Wow.
That's
yeah, the body memory is really important when we're talking about these things, right? And coming into that mindful awareness of even I'd like to actually think about the mindfulness with the snacking, with the appetite thing. You know, we talked about that when just the indicators.
Yeah.
The mindful awareness of indicators that, okay, this is hunger and maybe this isn't.
Yeah. False alarm hunger, is that what you were talking about? Sure. Shall we wait for anybody to come back, or shall we just go into that a little bit?
Yeah, for time's sake, we might want to start. Maybe Tom went for dinner, I'm not sure. I'm just joking.
Talking about snacks. Sure. So you mentioned in the opening, we were talking a little bit about just the different senses and sensing what real hunger feels like, and how that's different from what I like to call as well false alarm hunger. And real hunger causes certain changes and sensations in your body. Like you've probably all felt that rumbling of your stomach when you're actually really hungry, and your stomach's empty and it's growling. You might feel salivation in your mouth if you start smelling food. And when you eat food, when you're really hungry, it tastes really good and you feel really nourished. Like it's a good feeling when you're really hungry. But there are some situations and some confusing messages that our body can give us when it's false alarm hunger. And when you can become mindful of these different sensations, it can just help when it comes to appetite, and when knowing if it is food that you need for nourishment, or if maybe it's something else that you need nourishment from, and food just happens to be there, or you're getting a little confused with the messages your body's giving you that you think it might be food. And some of the situations that might cause false alarm hunger, nervous energy can be a situation where the sensation isn't really hungry. It's you're feeling a bit fidgety, and if food is there, it's something you can fidget with, and it's something that maybe you can eat, or you're bringing to your mouth, and it's distracting you from all that nervous energy that you have. Another sensation of kind of false alarm hunger is cravings can cause false alarm hunger. Now, what I mean by that is you might have just had lunch, and maybe you've had a fantastic balanced lunch and you're feeling fine, and half an hour later you're walking through the mall and you walk past the movie theater, and that waft of warm, buttery, salty popcorn smell comes. And you're not really hungry, you've just eaten. But all of a sudden your mouth's salivating, you're thinking of popcorn, and you think, oh, I could go some popcorn. And that's, again, it's not really true hunger. Maybe your mouth is salivating, but chances are you're not getting that growling in your tummy. Your tummy's not rumbling because you're not actually hungry.
Can I just for a second?
Sorry, go ahead.
I wanted to ask you about the growling part, because I know that you pinpoint an actual area of the tummy, and I just wanted to touch on that as well.
Yeah, where your stomach sits, like usually where you feel that growling feeling. If you feel your ribs and you put your hands on your ribs and you just kind of move your hands up so they touch where your two ribs touch, on your right hand side, your stomach sits just off center on your right hand side. Now, you don't have a lot, you don't have as many, say, nerve receptors in your stomach area as you do throughout the rest of your body. So sometimes you're not going to feel it exactly on your right hand side under your ribs, but it's quite high up. Where you rumble, where your tummy rumbles, it's typically in that middle right hand side, just under your bottom rib. That's where you feel real hunger. Where you feel emotional hunger, it's a little bit lower than that. And often when we're experiencing maybe depression, or you're feeling sad, sometimes it can feel, you feel it in your gut. You feel it a little bit lower. And you often see people when they're sad or when they're upset, they hold their belly and they're holding just above their belly button. And that's often where we feel emotional hunger. And I think you said, I can't remember who said it, but when we're born, you know, we know that we get nourishment and comfort from food. So sometimes when we're feeling sad or we're feeling depressed, we're feeling that sensation in our stomach, but it's not actually true hunger. But it gets a little bit confused. Our brain gets a little bit confused because we know that we'll feel a little bit better for a little while if we have some food. And understanding where that feeling's coming from or what emotion is behind that, it can just help us to make better decisions or more balanced decisions as we're choosing meals or as we're going through the day. Do I really need that snack? Am I really hungry? Yeah, maybe I really am. Or am I missing something else? Am I needing nourishment from something else? And so that's when we take a little bit of time to listen to our body and to hear what it's actually trying to tell us. That's when we can start, you know, balancing the things out that we eat. And in order for us to be able to do that, for us to be able to listen to our body, we have to slow down. Yeah. And we live in such a fast, a lot of us do, live in a fast, busy, fast pace. There's always something to do. Food can sometimes be that thing that just gets in the way. It's a lunch that you have to speed through because you've got something else to do. Or it's grabbing a quick snack and being out the door because you've got to be somewhere else. And when we're in that rushed state, it's very hard to actually be mindful or even pick up at all if our body is trying to tell us something. If there's sensations going on that we're just ignoring because we're a bit too busy. We don't have enough time.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, it makes me think of when I go to the fridge, like honestly, I'll just be, okay, I need a break. I need to get up. I need to get off of the computer, and I'll just walk through the kitchen and my body just takes me right up to the refrigerator and I'll be like, like I have no hunger whatsoever when my body has taken me to the fridge. And so now I've taken to putting, maybe some might have seen the nurture wheel before, but I've taken to putting one of these on the fridge. And so it spins, you know, so I actually do a little spin and see, okay, if I need something, maybe it's something about nurture around one of these elements, just like the 7 days of this week, right? Maybe it's something that I just need to step outside for a while and take in the sunshine, take in some of the green out there and the growth and the birds. Or maybe, you know, I need to tune into something else. I need to tune into what's going on in my heart. So I just give it a little spin, and it's a way to go, is it something that I need? Is it really food? Nice. Or is it something else? And sometimes it is really food, but I've just ended up at the refrigerator. So it's great to kind of like have a mindful way to tune into that. I love that you're bringing that up. Thank you. Yeah. So yeah, do you want to go into maybe some plate action?
Sure.
I got my plate. I invite people to show the plate that they grabbed. This is my great great grandmother's plate. I wanted to bring her energy here.
Nice.
Okay, yeah, I like that. Claire, she's got a beautiful
bowl.
Oh, pretty. I like it. Oh, nice bowl, handmade. I know who made that bowl. Tom, did you get your dish? He's got it. Okay, awesome. Roger, what do you got? I know you just had dinner. Oh, good. Okay. So let's talk about, plates.
Yeah, so well, when we were talking earlier before, and for those of you that just came in halfway through when we were talking about pizza, I was talking about how often when we eat food, and this kind of goes back to the how we eat and how we often eat in a rushed state, our environment can really set us up for either the speed that we eat at or how much we eat. And sometimes in our food environment, we really create an environment where we tend to eat fast. And again, whether it's simply because we use the pizza example, because when you eat pizza, if you can even imagine yourselves eating pizza, or maybe it's a hamburger that you eat with your hands. Whenever you eat something with your hands, you typically tend to eat it much faster. And when you're eating quickly, it's really hard to tune in to your hunger and fullness cues. And you can even probably imagine or remember back to a time that you ate pizza, or a time you ate a burger, or a time you ate crackers or chips, or something that you eat with your hands. And you can just get into that habit of eating quickly, and you just continuously do this without stopping. And again, when we eat like that, it is just hard to tune into when we're actually feeling full and when we are nourished and when we need to actually stop eating because we've nourished ourselves. And just a little exercise to practice slowing down. Why I suggested to get something that you would typically eat with your hands. Like I've got raisins here. I'm not sure what you have. But again, even raisins is something that's pretty simple to eat. But if we slow it down, and whatever it is that you're eating, if you do it with a knife and fork, and this even goes for if you typically eat dinner with a knife and fork anyway, next time you do it, just check yourself and see if you're constantly holding your knife and fork. Lots of us don't even put our knife and fork down when we eat. We just kind of hold on to them, and we're going to use them until we're finished our meal. And so the purpose of this exercise is just seeing what it actually feels like to use a knife and fork, eating something that you would typically eat much faster, and seeing what it feels like when you put those things down and you just focus on what you're eating. Rather than focusing on the next cut or the next thing that you're going to put in your mouth, just focusing on what is it actually like to do this slowly. So Shealagh, did you want to do that exercise now?
Yeah, that sounds really good. Yeah.
So whatever it is you have, if you'd like to just put some on your plate or put some in your bowl. In your bowl, you have to use a few more skills to maneuver and cut in there. And these are going to be pretty small pieces. So if you've got your things, grab your knife and fork and just put a couple on your fork. Now I'm doing raisins, so I've got 3 raisins on my fork. And whatever you have, now just take some time, pop it in your mouth, put your knife and fork down, and I want you to chew for at least 10 to 20 times. And just really pay attention to what you're tasting, how the text is changing, how the taste might be changing the longer you chew it. Excuse me for talking with my mouth full of raisins, but the more I chew my raisins, the sweeter they're becoming. It's becoming really sweet in my mouth. And when you're finished, before you pick your knife and fork up again, I want you just to take a big breath. And then if you'd like to, do the exact same thing again. Take another little, whatever it is you're eating, And do the exact same thing, just thinking about the taste of it, the texture, and how it's changing.
Yeah, this chocolate bar would be so gone by now.
And I'd just like you to think about what that actually feels like. Some of you, it might feel nice. It actually just might feel nice and relaxing to eat that slowly. For others, that might actually be a bit uncomfortable, might be a bit anxious. Taking your time, you might feel like you're wasting your time a little bit. You kind of want to pick up your knife and fork and have a little bit more. And when we can notice what that feeling's actually like for us, if that does feel good for you, taking it slow, ideally that's fantastic. That's how we want to be eating our food. Digestion, like slow. Our body does its best job when it comes to digestion, when we're calm, when we're breathing, and when we're eating slowly. And that exercise is just to see what it feels like to eat slowly. If you felt that was a bit of an uncomfortable exercise, you didn't like eating slowly, that can be a little bit of a sign that maybe you're still in that, you're turned up a little bit too much. You're still in that, maybe not necessarily fight or flight, but you're not quite in that parasympathetic nervous system of rest and digest. And ideally, when we're eating, that's what we want to be in control. We want to be in our parasympathetic nervous system, so rest and digest is in control. And one little exercise that you can do before your main meals, for any meal really, is rather than just racing through it, even simply just sitting for a minute, 2 minutes before you start your meal, and just take a couple of deep, slow breaths. And what that actually does, I can't think who mentioned it earlier before, I'm sorry, but it's a signal to your body to start calming down, to be in that more rested, more relaxed state. And that's when we're going to digest our food better, when we're going to feel better. It's when we can tune in to our bodies better, when we're in that more relaxed state.
Yeah, I love that, what you're saying too. And I was thinking about how when we even set up for dinner, I love to put a candle out and maybe have, placemats, or maybe do, whether it's flowers, or the time that we take in preparing or ourselves to eat, to set it up in a way that is welcoming to our system, can really actually, and the rest and digest piece, of course, you're taking more nutrients in as you go. Yeah. So your body is actually happier with what is being put into it at the same time. I remember you just talking about that, so I wanted to come to that point as well. I think it's, I really want to accentuate the fact that the enjoyment factor goes up, right? Like our pleasure factor goes way up when we can taste more of the food, like our experience just told us now, or when we set ourselves up in a way that's beautiful around us before we eat, something that's pleasing to us, that does calm our system when we see those things, like the beautiful napkin or the nice flowers or whatever it is on your table. So
and I just had a slightly funny story to share with you just about that, and it happened last night at my dinner table. One of the workshops I do at the Rtrt Center is about this, and it's about being in that nice calm place for eating. And sometimes that doesn't always happen. ideally that's what you want to happen. But like I said, part of my self-care is having that dinner, sitting down, eating. And last night we were at the table, dinner was late, and everything was just starting to spiral out of control at the table. Little, nitpicky here and there between everyone at the table. And I could feel myself, I could feel the anxiety. I could feel myself not enjoying my meal, wasn't digesting it properly. When you're anxious and when you're in that state of fight or flight, you start to get that knot in your stomach. Mm-hmm. And I could feel it happening. And I just thought, all right. And I said, very calm, I was like, everybody, we just need to eat in silence now. No one's done anything wrong, but let's everybody, no talking. No one's going to talk. And we had probably 2 minutes of silence, and it was just long enough. There was no hard feelings about the silence. It wasn't an uncomfortable silence. It was just a stop the conversation. Everything calmed down. And I swear my children, finally the food hit their blood sugar stream. Their mood started to get better. Yeah. It was just such a nice reminder of just taking it down, stopping the talk, stopping the noise, so that we can just focus on the one thing that we can be doing right then and there. Mm-hmm. And then the whole rest of the dinner was totally different after that little bit of time.
Love it. Yeah, the mindful moment.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's a great way to, just kind of stop. We all know what hangry feels like, I'm sure. And especially if it's us or maybe it's someone else, and it's not pleasant either way. So that's a great way to kind of go into on that situation, and just taking 2 minutes can change the entire experience for everyone, right?
Yeah.
So, so are you feeling pretty complete with that piece? Shall we go into, I'm probably not going to break out tonight because there's just a few people here, so maybe we can do an experience all together. Are you feeling okay for that, Jessi?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was brilliant. I just loved it. So this experience is again around yumminess. So if you just take a moment now, and you can shut your eyes if that's comfortable, and otherwise that's fine. But tuning into, I want you to remember a moment, and I invite you to remember this moment of where you bit into something in the past where it was like so delicious. Something that was exceedingly delicious. Maybe you've never tasted it before, or maybe it was the best one of that thing you've ever had. And I just want you to remember as much detail as you can about that experience, as if it was happening right now. Here comes the mms. And as you really tune into what that tasted like, and what happened to your face, what happened to your body, just reaching out your hand in front of you right now, with your hand in front of you, imagine there is a dial in front of you that you're grabbing onto, and it's a volume dial. And so let's take the volume of that experience of yummy, of deliciousness, and let's just play with the volume, and maybe turn it up to a point where you can feel something in your body responding, something changing. See if that's possible. How far do you turn it up until it's like, oh, where there it is, okay. And just noticing as you have it to that volume, where it happens in your body, where you notice something going on. And put your hand there. Just staying with the intensity of that experience, whatever is happening. And as we're doing this, just noting that, in fact, this dial in your hand, it really can tap into a sense of nurture that's available to you at any time. Any experience that you've had in the past, you can actually dial into, really turn the volume up on when you need to fill up your cup. You could even think of this dial like as a hose handle that's turning on, you know, the refreshing thing that you need to fill yourself up with, that energy that you need in that moment. So really holding the power in your hands now to be able to turn up the dial on your nurture in the moments when you need it. The power is literally in your hand in front of you. You can use that as a body-mind skill and tool to bring that into your life more. And does anyone want to share? We can maybe unmute everyone for now, Claire, if you feel like it. Does anyone want to share anything from the experience, or anything indeed, as we walk the last couple of minutes here? Dorota's here. Hi, Dorota. Are you in Scotland?
Yes, I am.
Oh, lovely. Good. That's perfect TLC.
Yeah, that's great.
That's so late there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about 3 a.m., but it's wonderful to.
Oh my goodness.
I'll tell you, the most thing that's ever happened to me is being in my own bed, quite frankly.
Thank you for coming.
Hi.
Actually, Dorota's at Findhorn. If anyone's ever heard of Findhorn, it's a really beautiful place to be in the world. So, yeah, anyone else that wants to share something from that experience or anything?
I'll share. Hi, it's Kirsty. So I loved, first of all, I loved the Jessi, the chewing 10 to 20 times. Before you said 10 to 20 times, I thought, okay, she's going to tell us like 5 to 8 times. And so the idea of 20 times seemed like a really long time. And yet I really noticed the change in the texture, and I became more present to chewing actually slower. Like, even though something in my mind made it feel like it was going to be a long time, when I actually did it, it didn't. It actually helped me become more present. So I loved that. And I noticed when I turned up the dial that I could really feel like my tummy area opening, like just that there was more spaciousness, which makes sense to me. So
yeah, thank you for that, because it's different for everyone. Everyone's experience of nurture is completely different. And I know, last night Roger shared that it just was an expansion as well. It was just something was just filled right up. And so but the real beauty I find is that the right brain will tap into that as if it's an actual dial, and you can then play with that, and not just with nurture, but with really anything in your life that you want to turn up or down. In fact, I used it right before we came online because I was quite nervous and I needed to tone it down. I needed to turn the volume down on my anxiety of what tonight might bring. And it gave me some spaciousness, like you're saying. So thank you.
yeah.
Anyone else that wanted to share?
Yeah, I'll share.
Okay.
Tonight, last night for me, when I came home from work, my friend Jaco was visiting me, and he's a cordon bleu chef, like a Michelin chef. And I'd asked him to make dinner because some friends were coming around with kids. And he said, yeah, okay, I'll do that. So I said, could you make it child friendly? And he said, yeah, I'll make some pasta. But in fact, the people that were coming cancelled, and thank God they did, because he didn't make it child friendly at all. It was one of the most extraordinary gourmet dinners I've ever had. It was just divine. And so I said, well, we better have someone else come to have this. And then a really good friend of mine called me and she said, are you free tonight? I said, not only am I free, but there's dinner on the table. Come on round. So we had the whole thing. We had candles and flowers and this extraordinary meal. And we were so inspired by the food and the decor that we had this beautiful conversation. And all three of us didn't we didn't know Yako that well, but it turned out we had friends in common in Hawaii and all over the world, and it was one of the most special things, and yet it was so unexpected. I do regret that I was so excited I ate the meal too fast, and I didn't realize that until I just heard this conversation. But here's the thing, it's 3 a.m. and that meal is still inside me, and I feel so contented.
I love it, Dorota. Thank you for that. Yeah, it's true. I mean, you know, our bodies remember for a really long time, not just our minds. So it's great to be able to tune into that. And I wanted to say to all of you, thank you so much for being here. It's been such a pleasure to just be here, spend time, share a little bit of that presence with each other that sometimes, you know, isn't, I mean, it's something really valuable to me, and it's not always available to me. And also that, you know, that people that are here tonight, you all feel like, really, from what you've said, dedicated people that are very much in and active in the world, very active in the world. And I wanted to just recognize you for all of the things that you do, and hope that you found some nurture in what we talked about and what we shared tonight with one another. It's really great to see your faces. Thank you so much for being here. And I'll bring this to a close. If there's anything else, last words of farewell, I'll invite you to do that now. And I hope that you will return and be back tomorrow at 6:30 to listen in as we speak with Kirsty, who's here tonight, and we'll talk about nurturing spaces.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'd like to thank Jessi for her presentation too. I got quite a lot out of that. I really wrote a few tips down. I love the putting the knife and fork down. I've never heard that before, and that's just it just works so well. That's really great. I really like that. Thank you. A little simple thing. Very nice.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, Kelly, Christina, Jessi, Celeste, Judith, Roger, Claire, Tom, Kirsty, Dorota. See you later.
Thank you. Thank you all. Bye for now.
Bye for now.
If anyone wants to stay and talk to me, I'm here for another 5 minutes, but I'll say goodbye to everyone else that needs to go. I know sometimes time is an issue with self-care.
Thank you.
Kind of nice. It just feels like such a nice group. I don't want to go. They're just hang out.
Yeah, that's totally great. You know, and I really, you know, wanted to put aside time afterwards because last night I ended late, and people just kind of dropped off before I got a chance to end, and so it was important for me to pay attention. What was that, Roger?
Well done.
Oh, thank you. Thanks.
Well done. You did well. Yeah, no, good. Well managed.
Yeah, the time was better tonight, I think. You know, I'm learning. So, and I also wanted to show you, you know, I did send this along in your emails, the emails for people that signed up. So it's a way of just recording some of the little tips and things that you pick up along the way, or practices, insights that you might have, or follow-up that you might want to do. One of the things that I want to make sure that is on the recording before we end it is that Jessi actually does have this course, and it is available online. So I'm really excited about that. And of course, your website, I'd like to actually, could you put it in the chat right now, Jessi, just so that we have a record of that?
Yeah, I'll do that. And I also said, I've just set it up. If anybody would like to check out the course, the Balanced Life Program, I've just, I'll put it in the chat as well. And I think Sheilagh's going to send it tomorrow. But I've created a special coupon that's just called Fill Your Cup. And it'll just give you a free week to check it out. And if you want to subscribe, I've just taken 50% off the monthly subscription. So it comes down to $9.99. And it's got just lots of great information, lots of great meal planning ideas and things like that. And yeah, so please feel free to check it out for a week. I'd love you to, love you to get some value from that. So I'll put that in the chat now.
Great. Yeah, and I am going to include that in the email for all of the I think there's like 600 or something on the list that are,
Wow.
I know there's a lot of people that contacted me today that are wanting to listen to the recordings because they could, you know, it was a bad time of the night, like Dorota. It's like 2:30 in the morning over here. So, and then other people as well that just for other reasons couldn't be here and wanted to listen to recordings. It's just easier to fit TLC in where you can, right?
Mhm.
You know, and so I know that there's quite a few people, and particularly in the UK, that are in that area. That's what they need. So anyways, I will include that in the email that I send out to everybody, and that's a gift from you, so that's really generous of you. And yeah, so here is where I'll just leave it for the recording, if I could get Claire to take that off. And I know, Claire, you probably are quite ready for the ocean at this point.